Hey everyone, thank you for watching. Today's video I'm really excited to do. It's just going to be a fun one. It's going to be another if I could only choose one style of video, and it's going to be if I could only choose one eyeshadow palette from a particular brand. So basically I went through my collection, I chose out the 5 brands that I have the most amount of eyeshadow palettes from, and I'm going to be choosing if I could just keep one from each brand, which would it be. So the if I could only keep one videos were started by Kelly Gooch, so I of course will have her channel linked down below. I recently did if I could only choose one makeup brush in each category, and also if I could only choose one makeup product in each category from drugstore brands. So I'll have my videos linked down below, and I've been getting a bunch of different suggestions from you guys on other videos to do, and I've been writing them all down. So that was a little bit of inspiration for this video, but I've also recently done the 20 best products from 20 different brands in 20 minutes. That was inspired from Jenla's reviews, so she will be linked. My video will also be down there. And in that video, I did choose a couple palettes from brands, and so it just kind of got me thinking, you know, I kind of wanted to expand on that and choose out a few more brands, and if I could only choose one palette from them, what would it be? So I have 5 different brands to talk about today. I'm going to show you all of the palettes that I have from them in my collection, and then let you know if I can only choose one, which one it's going to be. So why don't we go ahead and jump into the video. Alrighty, so first up, I thought I would just do this in alphabetical order. So I'm going to start off with Anastasia Beverly Hills. So from Anastasia, I have 5 different eyeshadow palettes here. So first up, this is the first palette that I purchased from Anastasia Beverly Hills. This is the Modern Renaissance. I also have the Soft Glam eyeshadow palette. This was the one that was mentioned in my 20 best video. One of the newest eyeshadow palette that I have from Anastasia, this one is the Riviera palette. This one just released recently. I also have the Norvina palette from Anastasia Beverly Hills. So there is the Norvina palette. And then lastly, the final palette that I have from Anastasia Beverly Hills is the Sultry palette, which is more of a cool tone palette. So my top 2 contenders from Anastasia Beverly Hills was the Sultry palette and then also the Soft Glam. These two I really put side by side and really considered here which one I would want to choose. So the Sultry palette is on top, the Soft Glam is on the bottom. So the Sultry palette is a little bit more on the cool tone side. They both have a mixture of matte and shimmers in there, but I think that if I could only choose one, I am gonna still have to stick with my best pick here and choose the Soft Glam. I typically do go for warm tones a little bit more over the cool tones. I like it, and that's why I really like having the Sultry palette in my collection. But I'm just thinking if I could only keep one, I think I would get the most amount of use out of this palette. I really do enjoy the mattes in here. There's obviously a bunch of browns, which I really do enjoy, but we also have this beautiful dusty rose, and this one shade was really like, I really would want to have that shade because it's so beautiful, and it's one that I reach for almost every single time I go into Soft Glam. I go into Dusty Rose, but then I also really enjoy that we have all these beautiful shimmers in here, and it's just such a me eyeshadow palette. So from Anastasia, out of the 5 that I own, it does have to go to Soft Glam. Next up, we have my Colourpop collection, and this is not it. I have 9 different eyeshadow palettes from Colourpop. I believe that's going to be the largest out of the 5 brands that I'm talking about, but I really enjoy the Colourpop pressed eyeshadow palettes, and they're more affordable, so just when they release new ones, I just get excited to purchase them and try them out. So I have 9. So we have the Dream Street palette. This was in collaboration with Kathleen Lights. We also have the Sweet Talk palette, which came out for spring, which is absolutely beautiful. I also have the Perception palette. I purchased this in collaboration with Makeup Shayla. So again, a bit of a larger palette there. So that is the Perception palette. I have 2 smaller palettes here. These were both in collaboration with IluvSarahii. They came out quite some time ago. This first one here is Saucy. So you have 4 shades in there. And then the other one that I have is in Cheeky. So this one is a bit more of a neutral palette. I also have some of their 9-pan color palettes. So I purchased the It's My Pleasure palette because it is this beautiful purple palette, and I love wearing purple with my green eyes. And then I also did just recently pick up the Main Squeeze palette. This one is the newest palette to me. I recently posted a video with 3 different looks using this very red palette. And then 2 more. I have the Misunderstood palette. Colourpop just recently sent this to me. This was a part of the Disney Villains collaboration. So that is the Villains palette. And then I pulled this one out. This one is all single shadows, but I thought that I would still pull it in here anyways. So these are a bunch of single shadows from Colourpop, and then they're in their own magnetic palette, but this one doesn't really have a name because it's just a bunch of single shadows in here. But I thought that I'd pull that one in there, show you guys, because I kind of treat it as a palette versus single shadows. So those are my 9 palettes from Colourpop. This one was very, very challenging for me. I actually had 3 contenders. So the top 3 was the Sweet Talk palette, which is just so beautiful, and you have mattes, you have shimmers, you have pressed glitters, and you have a Super Shock shadow. So that one is just such a beautiful palette. Of course, I love my Dream Street palette. I have talked about this palette for so long. I just think that it's a beautiful palette, wonderful mixture of matte shimmers in there, but also the Perception palette. I think that this is such a bomb palette. I really like this palette too because you get a mirror in it. Again, you have matte and shimmers. You have a lot of nice browns, this beautiful orange. You also have wonderful shimmers in here. The rose golds are so beautiful. There's some golds. This is just a really nice palette, and I've done a lot of different variety of looks with this one here, from the more neutral to, again, to those rose golds. I've done really dark smoky eyes with this palette. I just feel like there's a lot of different options that you can do with this one, and actually that is why I'm going to choose the Perception palette. It was a little bit surprising to me once I kind of made my decision, because I kept thinking, you're gonna say Dream Street, you're gonna say Dream Street. You know, Dream Street was mentioned in my 20 best, but I'm just thinking if I can only keep one, I just get more options with this one. Like I said, I really can do a variety of looks with this palette. This palette also does have a mirror, and that's kind of a big deal to me. I really utilize the mirrors in my palettes so much, so it just kind of got a little bit more of a boost than the Dream Street did. So I really have to hand it to Smokey Obsessions. I think that she did a fantastic job with the Perception palette, and this is going to be my choice for Colourpop. So next up we have my eyeshadow palettes from Dose of Colors. So from Dose of Colors I have 6 different eyeshadow palettes. So the first palette that I ever purchased from Dose of Colors was the Marvelous Mauves palette. So that is the 5-pan palette. I also have the Baked Browns, another 5-pan palette. We also have the Sassy Siennas. So this is a really warm tone palette with some browns and some corals and oranges in there. We have the Pretty Cool palette. Ooh, my brush is still in this one. The Pretty Cool palette. So very cool toned, very pretty dark palette, all with a bunch of browns in that one. And then also the Blushing Berries, which looks like so. So some deeper colors in here. There's a black in this one, some browns, a nice berry shade in there. And then also I have the Friendcation palette. This was in collaboration with Katie and Desi. So a little bit different from the 5-pan palettes. You do also have a mirror in this one, and then you have 10 different shades. So those are the 6 palettes that I have from Dose of Colors. Colors decisions came down to 2. So we have the Marvelous Mauves and then the Friendcation palette. And I was thinking you need to go with the Friendcation palette because you have so many more options in here. You have these beautiful mattes, you have these beautiful shimmers, and if you layer them, you really get a lot of different color combinations in here. This is such a nice palette. I think the quality is great on this palette, and I'm like, for sure, you have to pick the Friendcation. Like, it just makes sense. But I was like, I can't. I have to go with my Marvelous Mauves. I don't know if you guys understand my obsession with this eyeshadow palette. I wear it so much. I am beyond surprised that I haven't hit pan on this palette, especially because Dose of Colors does have a little bit softer of a formula. So especially when you put your brush in, you can get quite a bit of kick up, but I don't really get a lot of fallout on my face. This shade here, the second one, there is a huge dip in it. This palette is actually in my 9 in 2019 Project Pan, and I'm specifically trying to pan that shade, but I'll probably cry when it happens. This always comes traveling with me. It is always thrown into my travel bag, no matter if I'm just going out of town for a weekend, if I'm going farther and I'm going to a wedding, if I'm going on a vacation to Punta Cana, it doesn't matter. The Marvelous Mauves always has to come with me. It's just it is such a staple palette for me. I love the formula in here. I love these different shades. You can really just use one shade if you want to. You can build it up, you can play around, and I just love the monochromatic tones in here. I love this palette. It had to be the Marvelous Mauves, because if I had to get rid of all of them except for one, I would be most devastated to get rid of Marvelous Mauves. Like, I would be upset if I had to get rid of Friendcation, but I would be crying if I had to get rid of Marvelous Mauves. So that's how I made my decision for Dose of Colors. So dramatic. Alrighty, we have 2 more brands to go, and next up I'm going to be talking about my Huda Beauty collection. So from Huda Beauty, I have 7 eyeshadow palettes. That is a lot of palettes. I didn't realize I had that many from Huda Beauty. So some of the first ones that I got were in her Obsessions palettes that came out. These are the 9-pan palettes. This one here is in Smokey Obsessions, and I really enjoy this palette, but one of my shades is broken and I keep meaning to repress it. So we have the Smokey Obsessions, also the Mauve Obsessions, which of course I do quite enjoy because I really like those tones. We have the Warm Brown Obsessions, which looks like so. I also do have the Coral Obsessions, so a beautiful bright coral palette. And then these 2 were from her Gemstone collection. So I have the Emerald Obsessions, which is the 9-pan green palette, and then also Amethyst Obsessions, which is that purple palette. So those are all my 9-pan Obsessions palettes. And then I do also have the new Nude eyeshadow palette. So this is the larger palette here. So you have mattes, you have shimmers, you have a concealer shade, you have some pressed glitters in here. So this one is a pretty large eyeshadow palette, but those are the 7 that I have from Huda Beauty. So once again, my choice came down to 3 palettes, and they're actually all 3 of the smaller 9-pans. I don't mind the new Nude palette. I think that it's a nice palette. I like it. I like the looks that I've done with it, but it's definitely not a favorite of mine. So even though that one does have a lot of different options in there, like I said, from the mattes to the shimmers, you have a concealer shade, which is awesome. There's a nice mirror in there. You have pressed glitters, but I still wouldn't choose it, and it wasn't even in my top. So my top would be the Warm Brown Obsessions, the Mauve Obsessions, and then also the Smokey Obsessions. And my number 1 pick is going to have to go to the Smokey Obsessions. I love the mauve tones and I love the warm browns. I think I would have chosen the warm brown if there was just one more shimmer in here. Like, I just needed one more shimmer, and I honestly think that this one would have been the one to win out, because I just wear these shades so often. They're so easy for me to come up with a look. So this one was so close, but I just need one more option in there for a shimmer, and you do get quite a few in here. I'm going to put a picture on the screen so you can see the inside of this, since that one is broken and I'm trying not to spill it everywhere. But I just feel like I get really good options in here. Like, if I could take one shimmer from this palette, and it would be the one in the first row, that the last shimmer in there, if I could put that into this palette, I think this would be like my perfect eyeshadow palette. But I really like the shades in here. Again, you have a black in case you want to like deepen a look up or something, but that silver sparkly color is so beautiful. And obviously the shimmer in the bottom corner of the palette I have used so much. I hit pan on and that shade broke, so I have to give it to the Smokey Obsessions. I just adore this eyeshadow palette from Huda Beauty. Finally, brand number 5 that I have the most eyeshadow palettes from, these are from Urban Decay. So I have 6 palettes from Urban Decay. So going through them, I have the On the Run palette. So this was a little mini palette. This one is in Shortcut. I also have one of their newer palettes. This is the Naked Reloaded eyeshadow palette. Also have the Naked Cherry eyeshadow palette. Have the Born to Run eyeshadow palette. So a pretty large eyeshadow palette. A lot of options in here. Really nice mirror on this one. The Born to Run has definitely gotten a lot of love from others. The original, the Good Ol' Naked palette, I have this as well. And then their newest eyeshadow palette, this is from Game of Thrones. So this is the palette that you pull out there, and then this is the Game of Thrones eyeshadow palettes. So those are the 6 that I have from Urban Decay. So again, I have a top 3 for Urban Decay. I have the Born to Run, also the Naked Cherry, and the Naked Reloaded. So honestly, if I could like once again like mix the Naked Cherry and the Naked Reloaded, I think I would have like a perfect eyeshadow palette. There's so many times where I use both of these palettes to create an eye look, and I just enjoy it so much. I really, like I've been saying, I really enjoy the cherry tones in here. I wish there was like a few in this one. I get it. I get it for the Naked Reloaded concept. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying if I was making my perfect palette, I would have a few of those shades in here, and then I think it would be, again, my perfect palette. I think that I would enjoy it so much. But those two really came close, but it was even hard for me to pick out of the Naked Cherry and the Naked Reloaded which one I would want. So with that being said, I decided the palette that I am going to keep is the Born to Run. So the Born to Run is a bigger palette. This mirror in here is quite bomb. I can remember being on a couple different vacations out of state and really relying on this mirror to do my makeup in, which I think is fantastic. But you have a plethora of shades in here to choose from, so you can do something really neutral, you can do something all matte. There's beautiful shimmers in here, and you have so many different colors and different shades in the shimmers that I just feel like there's a lot I could do with. And then you even have like some of these more like kind of cherry tones. You have that in this palette too. So I am gonna have to give it to the Born to Run. I just feel like there's so many things, so many options, so many eye looks that I could create with this palette. So my Urban Decay winner is going to Born to Run. But after that, that is going to wrap it up for today's video. So just kind of a fun one, picking out if I could only keep one eyeshadow palette from a brand in my collection. If you'd want to see me do this video some more, let me know. There was a few other brands where I had multiple palettes, but we were kind of only getting to like 2 and 3 palettes, but I could definitely do it for some other brands that I have in my collection. Or if you'd want to see something along the similar style, let me know if you have any suggestions down below, because I of course would appreciate that. Let me know your thoughts, of course, in the comments. Pick out some palettes from your brands. I would love to hear your thoughts. But other than that, if you guys did enjoy today's video, I hope that you'll give it a thumbs up. I hope that you'll also consider subscribing before you go, and I will see you guys in tomorrow's video. Bye.